Hello, my name is Sarah and today is the first of two videos that I'm going to film. Just fun, short little things. I want to do my buzzwords that I love and will have me pick up a book, and my anti-buzzwords, which if you tell me this book has these things, I will not read that book. And this is going to be the anti-buzzwords. I'm gonna be honest, this list was a lot easier to make than the buzzwords list. I couldn't tell you why, but it was. So, going straight in, I will give you my disclaimer in that these are not absolutes. Some of these, I can tell you, I have read books with these things in them and I have enjoyed them. But if I don't know anything else about the book and like the short description that I recall has any of this stuff in it, I'm gonna probably just not, just no. Like the stormtroopers in Star Wars, you just walk down the hall and then turn around and walk away. I'm out, thank you. Moving on. Also, if you like these, I'm very happy for you. It's up to the reader, and I'm not poo-pooing on you, but just for me as a person, these aren't for me. And I just thought it would be fun to talk about. So at the top of the list, the one I see thrown around the most that I'm a romance reader, but I hate bully romances. If you tell me something is a bully romance, I will not pick it up. Just no, absolutely not. I'm not here for that life. You know, I lived the being bullied life in high school, and I don't think it's romantic. No. And frankly, I wouldn't want someone to bully my daughter, even if they were madly in love with her. So, hard pass. That kind of also includes dark romance. I don't know that there's very many dark romance books that I've ever really loved. I'm sure maybe if you went back and dug in my Goodreads, you might find one or two, but on the whole, if if something is branded as dark romance, moody and like angsty and dangerous, I'm out. I want romance to be fun, goofy, funny, cute. That's what I'm there for. That's the romance I love. So dark or bullies, I'm out. Sometimes a enemies to lovers works really well if it's done with a dash of humor. But in general, I hate those two in relation to romance. Jumping to fantasy, this is another yes and no. I hate portal fantasy, but I love isekai. No, there's a difference. Portal fantasy is usually a term used by a lot of Western books to describe it when a contemporary human person is thrown into a fantasy world. And they are well and truly aware of this fact. And so, you know, you learn to live in the fantasy world. It's portal fantasy. Think Sean McGuire's Wayward Children series, which is the exception, or was until the last book, the exception for me of portal fantasy that I like. I like that one. Have not liked any others. Isekai is something you see a lot more used in manga, light novels, and lit RPG and progression novels, where you die and you're reborn, sometimes not always as a human, sometimes as a, well, at this point, anything, including a vending machine. Those I love, not portal fantasies. I think the problem for me is that with a portal fantasy, oftentimes there's a chance that you will portal back here. I don't want that. The last portal fantasy I read that I despised was many moons ago, probably 2015, 2016. It was a NetGalley book. I don't remember the title. I remember the cover, but not the title. And this girl gets portal fantasied away to a fantasy world, and the whole first half of the book she spends talking about, man, I wish I had my cell phone so I could show these people how a cell phone works. Ooh, I'm gonna go back and get my camera and come back into this world and take pictures of all these fantasy things and bring it back to my real world, and then people are gonna be like, oh, fantasies are, that's not, my head hurt. I was just like, no, don't do that. One, no one's gonna believe you because Photoshop. And two, you should really be focusing more on the fact that you're in a fantasy world and you've just been given this like life or death quest, but no, she wants her cell phone. She's gonna go back and get her cell phone and her camera equipment, and that's not what I want from my fantasy. No, thank you, I'll pass. So, no. Also, fantasy or romance, I don't care what you are, I don't like time travel. Don't like Doctor Who. I have seen, in The Who's defense, I have seen but one episode of Doctor Who, and I was made to watch that by one of my best friends because I was an art major in college. I love art history. So she showed me one of the episodes that had to do with Van Gogh, and that episode made me cry because Van Gogh, I enjoy his work and his history and his story and all this stuff. So in the Who's defense, that's the only episode I've ever seen. I have no intention though of watching more because I don't like time travel. I don't like timey-wimey shenanigans. In general, don't like them. Now, they can be done well, and they have occasionally, but if it says time travel in the description, I'm a pass. This is gonna be a hot take, and I apologize right out the gate. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. If it has anything to do with Reylo, which, if you don't know, is fan fiction based around Kylo Ren and Rey from the new Star Wars trilogy, or generally fan fiction, as they say, with the serial numbers scrubbed off, that ruins the book for me. Hot take, I'm aware. I don't subscribe to Reylo. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I don't like the Reylo thing. I have thoughts on that last movie and that last scene with him. I'm not gonna go into it. I just don't like it. So if you tell me that a book is based off of a Reylo fanfiction, if I know that and then I see the cover, there's a few books I can think of that have come out very recently. And the cover models, the artwork looks like Kylo Ren and Rey, or one of them just looks like Adam Driver. I'm just not gonna be into it. I'm gonna pass. And if you're wondering, why maybe I haven't read some of the more recent, very hyped romances that have come out recently, it could be for that reason. Does the cover model look like Adam Driver? Does it have something to do with fanfiction? Good chance that's why I'm not reading it, because it makes me want to pass. The last time I read one, it was on accident. And I figured it out just from the context of the book, and when I googled it, it was like, oh yeah, this is totally based off Reylo fanfiction. I was like, see, I knew. This is why I don't like it, because if I see the strings, if I see the inspiration being something like that, I'm out. Nope. No, I DNF. That was the Dead Romantics, in case you're interested. It was so clearly fanfiction. It hadn't been edited well enough to hide that fact that I just couldn't handle it. It was so bad. Moving on. This one is a little bit less fun. Oh wait, before we move on, I'll just go ahead and lump retellings in with fanfiction. I'm not crazy about retellings. Sometimes they will work, and I will sometimes give them a try if I'm interested enough in the original myth, but it's not buzz. It's kind of wet, moist cloth on excitement for me. I don't. No. Moving on. More sad, not sad, but like more serious thing. I will not read books that have a variation of a child in danger. Child gets kidnapped. Child is killed. Mother seeking revenge. Hard no. That is a personal reason, but it is a definite anti-buzzword. I cannot handle that and will not. There are a handful of books on my TBR that have that in them. 9 times out of 10, if I go to pick that book up, I will actually look up the spoilers. Just like some people look up spoilers of does the dog die, I look up does the child die. And if they do, I don't read the book. Easy peasy lemon squeezy there. Just don't recommend me a book with an endangered child unless you also then tell me, P.S. child is fine at the end. Because I'm not going to read it. And kind of connected, because it is a big theme in this genre, I don't read thrillers very much. If something's described as a thriller, I'm not going to be into it. Now, I occasionally will read a thriller if it's got an interesting enough hook and I've heard really good things. But on the whole, I just keep going. If you add science fiction or fantasy thriller onto that, I will pay closer attention. But again, usually I just keep going. A lot of people don't like romance because it's very tropey. I don't mind that. Thrillers are very tropey, but it's not the kind of trope that I'm super into at this point in my life. In a few years, I may be a hardcore thriller reader because tastes change and stuff. And I have, in fact, gone through thriller phases. But right now, at this point, nah, no thanks. I'll pass. Contemporary friend group books. Speaking of trendy things, I will also say sad girl books. If you describe something as a sad girl book, probably gonna just keep driving past. Also, contemporary friend groups, especially with romance, sometimes will make me hard pass. Emily Henry books, think that kind of friend group dynamic. I'm gonna probably not be super interested in it. I would much rather be over here reading my dragon book or my, blue alien romances. That's just where I'm at in my life. And finally, the category of honor. If you describe a book and use one of these 3 titles and say, this book is like this, I'm not going to read it. If you say it's like House of Leaves, which is one of my most hated books of all time, I'm not going to read it. If you tell me that it's like Game of Thrones, I'm gonna ignore that recommendation. I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see that. If you tell me that too many times, I'm just going to pretend that I don't see that book. I'll ignore it the first couple times. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But after that first time, it's like just pushing it further down my radar. And finally, if you compare it to The Martian, I love The Martian. I've read The Martian 3 times. I think it's funny. I think it's fun. But I hate when people describe other books as like The Martian because they're never right. The last book I read that was described as like The Martian was Mickey 7 and its sequel, Antimatter Blues. And let me tell you, no. No. So there you go. There is my somewhat heated and comical list of my anti-buzzwords. Please let me know if you share any of these or if they're your buzzwords. That's super fun for me. If you're into that stuff, more power to you. Some of my favorite bookish people on the internet like things that I can't stand, and you know what? That's okay. So that's it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, talk to me down below, and I will talk to you guys again next time. Bye-bye.